r/TrueScaryStories. House and dog sitting. In 2017, when I was 18, I was watching a friend's house and dog sitting their two wiener dogs and their shepherd lab mix. It was my friend, F18, her mom, F57, and her stepdad, M59. They went off to visit some family in Northern California, and they asked me if I would be interested in watching the house and the dogs for them for some extra cash for a week. I lived not too far from their home, so it wasn't an inconvenience at all. I worked at the local Taco Bell while I was going to school and usually worked 1 to 9, 2 to 10 or 3 to 11, and I worked every day but one day, which was the first day. The first couple of days went smoothly. On the third day though, I worked 1 to 9, so I got off from my shift and started to drive to their house, which was about 10 to 15 minutes away, so I was listening to music. But when I pulled up to the house, I saw the three dogs in the street near the driveway and the garage door open and the front door open. I stupidly parked in the driveway and gathered all the dogs and got them all back in the house because I was really scared that it was my responsibility to watch them and they could have gotten lost or ran over. The home had 4 doors downstairs, 1 front door, 1 door leading to the garage, 1 kitchen side door leading to the backyard, and 1 back door leading to the backyard. All of these doors were open, including the garage door, not the door leading to the garage, the car pull-in door, which I saw when I pulled in. So I quickly closed and locked all the doors so the dogs wouldn't escape. The dogs were acting normal. The two wiener dogs went to the couch and the lab followed me upstairs. There was 4 doors upstairs, 3 to bedrooms and 1 to a bathroom. All of them were open, but when the family left, the parents' room door was closed and so was my friend's door. The windows were also all opened, but only upstairs, which was extremely weird. So I called the police and they searched the house and no one was in there and everything seemed to be okay. The rest of my stay was quiet and nothing happened. When the family got back home, they checked the house and nothing had been stolen. To this day I am still not only upset by my stupidness because it could have gone different, but also I am creeped out by why all of the doors being opened, which seemed weird to the cops as well, because during break-ins usually 1 or 2 doors are opened, not every single door, and upstairs windows. What was outside my car? Super creeped out by my experience I had over the weekend and curious what others think. I was driving through a rural part of Northern California, 30 miles from the nearest town. As I was driving down the road, a deer ran out in front of my car. I had no reaction time and hit it at 55 miles per hour. It ripped my bumper off and the bumper was dragging under my car. I pulled over and called my dad for help. I then get out to look for the deer in the road. I know it was dead because there was blood sprayed all over my car and I hit it square. I walked about 20 to 30 yards away and got an overwhelming sense of being watched. I couldn't find the deer, so turned and speed walked back to my car. It was around 7 p.m. and extremely dark, no other cars were driving by, no street lights, and barely any cell service. My dad was over an hour away, so I called a friend who lived a little closer and he started on his way to me. While I sat in the car playing on my phone, I began to hear whistling and murmurs outside my car. I got chills and the hair on my arms and neck stood up. There was one house to my right, but I didn't see any cars in the driveway or people moving around inside. I was on the side of the road by myself for 45 minutes and would occasionally hear these noises. Not sure what or who it was, but if anyone has any ideas, I'd love to hear. I am freaked out and now scared of being outside in the dark by myself. Thanks. Shadow figure dude. So this was like 2 years ago. I live in a townhouse in a pretty suburban area. There are like 3 fields surrounding the area I live in. Anyways, I was home alone and it was pretty late at night. My mom and her boyfriend were up north for the weekend. I was making some food when I heard strange noises, like banging on the walls and stuff. I brushed it off because I have noisy neighbors. But I was really paranoid, so I texted my neighbor and asked if they were home or something. They weren't. So I really started freaking out. I'm home alone, my neighbors aren't either, and it's like 2 in the morning. The banging noises got louder. It sounded like it was from my basement. Maybe it's my washer or something, and I calmed down a little. I went in my basement, like some stupid bitch in a horror movie, to see if it was just my laundry. Turns out that's not on. I left the basement quickly, panic rushing back to me. I just went to my room, totally forgetting about my food, and sat on my bed. I ended up laying down. Now a little break from the story. I have the master bedroom in my house, and I have 2 closets. One is a walk-in and one is like a regular closet. My walk-in closet has a light, but the light barely works. Okay, back to the story. Out of the corner of my eye I see that the light in my closet is on, which is really weird for me because it doesn't work. I literally wanted to cry, like, why is this happening to me? Again, like a dumb bitch from a horror movie, I opened my closet door and the light shut off and I could barely make it out, but a tall, skinny figure was standing in the very back of my closet. I closed the door really fast. I felt like screaming, but I didn't. I ended up going outside for a while and sat on a bench outside my house. I don't really know if I was just seeing things or if I really saw something paranormal, but it was scary. My experiences in one of my childhood homes. When I was roughly ages 6 to 10, we lived in a mobile home on the lake. The first paranormal experience I ever had there was with our motion sensor hall light. It was a pet-free household. I was the only child and my parents' room was on the other side of the trailer. This light would flicker on and off, and then in the morning time it wouldn't cut off. We would press the button that could override the sensor and cut it off, but it wouldn't work. I was watching TV while it was storming when my mother and I heard a loud boom. My mother got up to look out the window, and once she got to the window our power cut out, so I looked toward the TV and I saw what looked like a red devilish mask on a red body sitting next to me, so I quickly turned to look next to me and all I saw was my mom still looking out the window. It should be noted it was midday and still bright while it was raining. The last experience I've had regarding this house was the other night. I had a dream that I was in my bathtub in the old trailer and my head was repeatedly pushed in and out of the water while the bathtub was stretching. Ironically enough, I woke up drenched in sweat at 3:33 a.m. Who doesn't like a tinkle wave? I'll start this by saying I am not into supernatural experiences and I never gave them much thought until my own experience. This is 100% true, and I would swear on any religion or dead relative that what I say is the honest truth. I grew up in a very old home, for my area's standards anyway. It was built in 1929, coming up on its 100th birthday, by a well-known Spanish Revival architect, and the area back then was pretty much all agricultural. This particular home was the place built to house the family that owned the citrus orchards in a 10-block radius. Since it was an orchard home, it has some quirks like a built-in trash furnace chute, goodbye bad report cards, full basement which they used for cold produce storage, and some truly stellar hiding spots. We moved there when I was 6 years old. To understand the story, I'll give description of the layout where my story takes place. The home has what some might call a grand entrance hall, complete with a grand staircase. It wraps around the 3 walls. The top of the main stairwell is shaped like a giant square. You get to the top landing and you follow the giant square walkway around to the rooms consisting of my sister's and my hallway, which has my bedroom, my sister's bedroom, our shared bathroom, and our parents' master suite at the end of the walkway. Pretty much you have to walk past our hallway to reach my parents' bedroom. My sister's and my hallway can be closed off from the main stairwell walkway by shutting a door with the lock. Note, if you don't lock the door, it won't stay shut as it always swings slightly ajar. Like I said, it's an old home and they have their quirks. The lock was on the inside, so only someone in my hallway could unlock it, in other words, no lock access from the main stairwell. When I stayed at home alone, I always locked the hallway door. I was never scared in my home, but it felt better to have that extra layer of protection anyway. To the point, when I was nearing graduation of high school, I was at home alone. My sister had gone to college years before, and my parents were on a weekend vacation to the mountains, which are only an hour and a half drive from our location. It wasn't unusual for them to leave for the weekend since I was already 18 and responsible. I never drank to get drunk, never tried drugs, etc. Sometimes I'd have my best friend come over and we'd watch movies or have the soccer team come over to swim. Nothing was ever crazy, and my friends were always polite, and never left a mess, so my parents didn't mind if I had people over when they were out of town. On this particular evening, I was alone because I had a soccer tournament the next morning. Now my bedroom door was far left side on the same wall as my headboard. From where my head was on my pillow and laying on the left side of my body, my sight line directly at the space where people would walk into my room. That evening I was sleeping and woke up to roll over. Nothing crazy in that, I usually do wake up a few times every night to adjust. But that evening I rolled over and with sleepy eyes and saw a figure in the doorway. In my sleep haze I recognized details of this person. He was wearing overalls that had stains on the knees, was wearing a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, his hair was mid-length dark with loose curls in them. Now here is the kicker, he waved. Not like a normal wave, but what I call a tinkle wave. The kind where your fingers go down slightly one after the other and you repeat the pattern. He waved a tinkle wave at me. I closed my eyes thinking it had to be some weird sleep thing where dream world and reality meet. Opened my eyes and he was gone. The truly bizarre thing was I wasn't frightened in any capacity. If anything, there was a sense of calm. I chalked it up to a weird dream, and that was that. The next morning I woke up, got ready for soccer, unlocked the hallway door, went downstairs and went to my soccer game. Business as usual. I never mentioned it to anyone because who would care? It was a weird dream. No one had been there since the door had been locked. Fast forward to 6 years after the weird dream. My sister was getting married and one of her bridesmaids, Ally, was from out of state. My family had known Ally for years, so rather than her pay for a hotel, she stayed with us. Since I was on break from college for the wedding, I was staying at my parents' as well. My sister's room was a wreck with wedding chaos, so I cleaned up my old room for Ally to stay in while I stayed in my sister's old room. The morning of the wedding I drove Ally, Sarah, another local bridesmaid, and myself down to the venue to get ready. It was about an hour's drive to the venue from my parents' home, and we talked about our old high school, current life stuff, etc. We were about halfway to the venue when Ally mentioned about not getting a great night's sleep. Being a good hostess, I asked what was wrong and if there was anything she needed, since she would be staying in my room for a few more nights before leaving. I'll never forget this part. She said no, it was fine, but the guy in your room wouldn't go away. He just kept waving. I almost swerved into the freeway K-rail barrier. I asked her to explain what she meant. Ally told me she woke up around 3 a.m. because her phone dinged an alert. She looked at the doorway and saw a man standing there. He looked at her for a minute, then waved, the tinkle wave. She mimicked the wave to me exactly. By that point I must have been pale as a sheet. She then went on to describe his appearance. She described him with the same details as my own, except added he had a bandana in the lower side pocket of his overalls. After this she, and Sarah, could obviously see I was pretty rattled. I told them what I had seen years before in the same place with the same details. As I said before, I had never mentioned this to anyone. Why would I? It was a dream. Ally then told me she's sensitive to spirits. She's had many encounters and can feel their energy. As I stated before, I had never believed in any of this stuff prior to this. She then told me not to worry because he was a benign spirit, and just wanted to make his presence known. This matched my own interaction because I never once felt threatened, which normally wouldn't be the case with a strange man in my bedroom while I'm home alone. I remember seeing him and thinking, I should feel frightened, but I never was. After the wedding festivities and after Ally had left, I asked my mom if she had ever seen anything one might consider supernatural in the house in the years since we had lived there. She's a well-educated ER doctor with a no-nonsense attitude. She told me that she's come home from the hospital a few times, always the 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. shift, when she generally wouldn't get home till 3 a.m. after finishing up charts. She said she had seen a shadow man move between my sister and my hallway door. I asked if she had ever felt frightened after seeing it, and she said no, but she always felt nonplussed. I told her about my dream and what Ally had also seen. Honestly, she didn't react much besides telling me to stay on good terms with it. Since that first experience, I saw him twice more. Both of these sightings being in my sister's bedroom, one at the right foot of her bed and the other on the left side of her bed. The last time he didn't wave though. After my mom's revelation, I checked my phone after seeing him, and both sightings were between 3 to 4 a.m. time frame. I don't know what it is or who or why, but it's happened too many times for me to believe it's not real. I named him Philippe, and when random stuff happened in the house I couldn't explain, like my hat falling from the top of my lamp with no window open or anything touching it besides the lamp, I would just say hi Philippe so as to not to piss him off. What scares me most to this day is how quickly my mind shifted from these are make-believe stories to this spirit exists in my home, and he wants to be known. What else is out there that we can't see or explain? There are a few other supernatural stories in this house, but those are my sister's, so I don't want to write a story that isn't mine. I'm happy to say my husband and my home, so far, has no other tenants besides ourselves and our dogs. Please like, subscribe, and share.